Oh my goodness. Did you guys hear Teresa on the first episode of season 13, Real Housewives of New Jersey? This was some good tea. Welcome back to number one reality junkie, where I take my reality TV junk and I just dump it right on you. Make sure you guys like this video and subscribe to the channel. I do plan on doing a recap for each and every Real Housewives of New Jersey episode, because this first episode for season 13 was bomb. So kudos to Bravo. They got this one right. We got new people. We got conflict. We got revelations. And that's what we're here to talk about today. Teresa reveals the source of her anger in the first episode. Now, we've waited 13 seasons to find out why is Teresa so... And she finally puts it out there. But first, let's get to a few things. Let's acknowledge the fact that we have new housewives. So kudos to the new chicks on the block. I felt like they fit right in, but had a good setup. There's already some conflict, and we even see the old housewives. We see like just a lot of cameos. Like, this was a great first episode. Like, I feel like a lot of other Real Housewife franchises should learn from this first episode of Real Housewives of New Jersey. This was great. I was intrigued. I will be watching the next episode. The one thing I'm annoyed about, of course, we're hearing the same old mundane Teresa and Melissa and Joe drama. I am so over it. Everybody's so over it. We're sick of it. We're tired of hearing about it. Look, at the end of the day, y'all are not going to get along. Teresa, you feel some type of way. And because of that, Melissa reacts to that. It's enough. Enough is enough. I'm so sick of hearing about it. And let me know what you guys think in the comment section. We know y'all don't get along. We know, Teresa, you just don't like Melissa. And at the end of the day, that is your brother's wife. So there has to be a level of respect. But however, Teresa does not care, clearly, because she, at any chance that she gets to shade or belittle Melissa and or Joe, her own brother, she does it. She does it. Teresa called him some pretty foul things in the reunion. She called him the B word and said a little B word. And that's just unnecessary. That's your brother. Okay. But again, we're going to get a little bit later in this episode. We're going to get to the source of that. But she calls him a little B. And Melissa defends her husband, of course. But I felt like if she didn't defend her husband, she would be screwed either way. Now, in this episode in particular, we learn about the new housewives. We see that Jackie is now just a friend of, which, hey, Jackie, you didn't bring it last season, so be a friend of. There was a small little rift between her and one of the new girls, and I'll go through the new girls in a later episode. We have Dolores and Jennifer Aiden, and they're going at it. Still conflict from last season, so everything is carrying over. There's still a little bit of tension between Margaret and Teresa, but they end up working through it in this episode. Good to go. Now, let's get to the meat and potatoes, shall we? So in the middle of the episode, Teresa and Louis are at their home. They're living together. They're getting ready for their holy matrimony. So, this happens in this season. But anyway, they're in the kitchen and she's telling him how she's ready to talk to Margaret. And she's invited Margaret and Joe, which is Margaret's husband, over to talk and have like a sit down. Let's hash out our differences. They show Margaret and Joe, getting ready for this and their discussion. Do they think that she's going to apologize? I don't see Teresa apologizing, blah, 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 blah. They go back and forth. Then we go to Teresa and Louis. And Teresa and Louis are having the same discussion. Of course, they're setting up the scene for this talk. In this discussion that she is having with her then fiance, Louis, now husband, but then in this particular part of the show, first episode of season 13, they are still engaged. She says this. She says that when it came to Margaret, she just saw the devil. Okay. And, the season last year was very volatile. I just get frustrated with Teresa's, just her dramatization, her overreaction. Like, she just overreacts, and that's what she's known for. But, sometimes it does get old. It becomes mundane. It's like, I expect for her to do this, but there's also a level of respect that I feel like should be between castmates. And there is that with everyone else, but Teresa is not held to that same standard. She can go off. She can throw things, throw food and glasses and all that kind of stuff at people, as she did with Margaret, and not be reprimanded. Whereas if it was someone else, I believe that would not be the case. I believe that person would be reprimanded, especially if it was toward Teresa. So it's already a double standard, because Teresa is the OG of this franchise. She's been there since day one. So we see what happens with day oneers. Hello, Vicky Gunvalson. Anyway, let's get to the meat and potatoes. So Teresa's talking with Louis, and Louis asking, well, how are you going to handle this? Like, how are you going to have this discussion? Because, you just can't fly off the handles, which is what we know Teresa for. And she brings up a really interesting point. She says, and I quote, "I did what I did, because I was really hurt. And I had my certain ways that I really lived life by. Like my dad was like that. Like when he got angry, he reacted in a scary way. If he thought he was right about something, that's it. You could never say it was blue instead of red. No, it's always blue." And so she's talking to Louis, and then it goes to her confessional, and she says, "He would bang on the table. If he had bread in his hand, he would throw it at me like, he would throw it and I would duck. Ha ha ha." Like, she laughs about it. At the end of this, she says, "I'm just like him. Like, I always react. I don't want to do that." When I heard this, it all just clicked, okay? From the table throw to the pushing of Andy to the situation with Margaret last year to just all the things that we have seen with Teresa and the girls, it stems from this. She watched this as a child and as an adult from her father. And she admits that. And it's like, whoa. She literally says that she's just like her father. And she always reacts. So then you have to think about Joe. Joe Gorga is a likable character. We love Joe Gorga. We love Joe and Melissa together. I like their marriage, their marital dynamic, even though there's supposed to be alleged infidelity in this particular season. But, they do that to drum you in, to reel you in and to, drudge up drama. We don't know if it's true or not, but we'll see in the later episodes. And of course, I'll be recapping. However, what this also showed me is a lot of the same stuff with Joe Gorga. He does a lot of the same things that she's describing her father did. And in my opinion, he's just like him too. You think of the situation from the christening where, him and where Joe Gorga and Joe Guidice, or Guidice, however you want to pronounce it, they got into an altercation. Even last season when he was talking to Gia, which I felt like that was a different situation, but he did flex. And I feel like that is the running theme of them both. They both react like their father. When she said that he would bang on the table, I imagined, being in a moment where you see the man of the household, your father, someone who already is an authoritative figure, and someone who you probably are just a little bit afraid of, like, real talk. When you have a father in the home, that's law. That's law. So imagine being at the table and him banging on the table because he's upset. And then him throwing something and you having to duck because he's upset. And then you can't really tell him what the truth is because when he's upset, you just have to go with what he says. That is some serious trauma. And that's what Teresa and Joe dealt with as kids growing up and, of course, into their adulthoods. And now we see how this is playing out. I'm so glad that Teresa's in therapy, because this could cause, situation with her children, with her new marriage. It's like once we learn better, we have to do better. And I will give her credit, that at least she is working on it. She's sought a therapist, and she's working those things out. Because if she wasn't, after hearing this, this would definitely be a problem. But I'm curious to see this is the real Zen Teresa, because before she's claimed that she's, namaste, out my way, all this kind of stuff. Namaste, namaste. She wasn't. But I will say that one thing I do like about Louis is that he seems to keep her, chill. He knows how to dial her down. Sometimes I don't like some of the things he says, but overall, when it comes to Teresa, and I guess that's his background, because we find out in this episode that his mom is a therapist. And so, they talk things out in their family, whereas there wasn't a safe place to do that in Teresa and Joe's family growing up. And so, that you see the difference already, and you can also see the growth. So I have to give her kudos, even though I don't like the things that she does. Teresa, I'm referring to. I don't like the anger that she displays. I don't like the way she reacts and the physical nature of that, because if she was around the wrong person, she would get dealt with. Let's be honest. However, I see that she is making attempts and making strides to do better. And so I'm curious to see how she, does in this particular season, and if things do get better. Anyway, what do you guys think about this revelation from Teresa? Because again, this was a doozy. Also, what do you think about the new chicks on the season? I'm so far, so good for me. I'm feeling them. I like the energy that they bring. I like the sass that they bring. They, are family people. They have children. It was a good, like I said, it was a good introduction, all in the first episode. And I was feeling it. I'm looking forward to episode 2. Tell me what you guys think, and if you'll be watching episode 2, and if you want recaps of season 13. Anyway, make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel. Of course, this is #1 reality junkie. I just dumped my reality TV junk on you. Peace.